Welcome. Call the meeting to order. Start out with introductions. My name is Byron Chapman, the mayor of the city of Middletown and the chair of this board. All right.
I'm Tom Hall, KYTC District 5 Planning.
Barry Armstrong, City of Mount Washington, Mayor.
Bernie Bowling, City of St. Matthews.
Matt Meunier, City of Jeffersontown.
Despite what my name tag says, Jeff O'Brien, Louisville Metro.
Justin Tackett, Floyd County.
Brian Dixon, Clark County.
Andy Kraus, City of Jeffersonville.
Jim Udi, NDOT.
Kevin Beatty, Town of Clarksville.
Larry Cheney, Kipta.
Sarah Bear, Kipta. Elizabeth Park, Kipta.
Danielle Story, Kipta.
Olivia Racine, Kipta. Amanda Dethridge with Kipta.
Andy Rush, Kipta.
Nick Vale, Kipta. Jerry Miller, Kentucky House of Representatives.
Kenneth Meyer, Trauma.
Jared Haley, Kipta.
Genevieve Foxworth, Citizen. Jackie Cobb, Citizen. Lady Bill, Aiden.
Brian Seymour.
Well, sorry, I'm gonna go after you. Erica Tate, Fair Ohio, Indiana.
Tony McClellan, Indiana. Adam Forsyth, Kipta.
Isaac Myers, Governor's Office.
Edward Chino, State of Washington.
Ronald Mullen, Kentucky Emergency Management.
Craig Walker, Transportation Plan.
Eric Stocker, Fisherville Area Neighborhood Association.
Mike King, Metro.
Welcome each and every one of you. We have a pretty lengthy agenda, so let's get rolling on item number 2. I need motion to approve the minutes of our June 27th meeting. Motion approved.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Any additions or corrections to those minutes? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Item number 3, this is our public comment period. Listen up now, maybe if you want to talk, this is the only time you get a chance to address this board. We want to keep your comments short, but we want to hear from you if you want to talk. So if there's any items on this board or any on this item, on this agenda you want to talk about, now's the time. Anyone want to speak? Yes, ma'am. Just stand up, give us your name, please.
Sure. May I? Hi, I'm Jackie Cobb. I'm a citizen. I was here last month, so it's nice to see you guys again. I have 2 comments about the agenda today that just want to share with you. But first, I wanted to just connect with you all personally as a citizen in your role as civil servants, and just impress upon you the true power you have in this committee on shaping the quality of life for citizens in many ways. But 2 in particular that I just will elevate that are really important issues just to think about the impact of transportation on our citizenry. One is poverty. As you know, a lot of our citizens struggle to make ends meet, and transportation is a huge part of that puzzle. If you think about the AAA, thinks that the average cost of owning and operating a vehicle is $9,000 a year, and obligating our citizenry to own and operating a car as a way to participate in society is a really big burden for a lot of people. And so your decisions here today and every day that you guys meet impact the ability and have the potential for people to be able to get around and keep a job and go to church and visit their family without obligating them to own a car. So I think this body has a huge power to impact the poverty of our community if you make the right decisions. Second area where this body has huge power is obesity. I'm just choosing 2 topics, but there are a lot of them. Obesity. Our community really struggles with obesity and the comorbidities of that obesity. Diabetes, heart problems. And the decisions you make today impact the obesity of our community. Imagine if more people could burn calories instead of fuel to get around, and what a positive impact that could have on our community. So it is just with the right attitude that I want to press upon you guys the power that you have to make positive change in your community through your decisions. And with that lens, I just want to make 2 comments on today's agenda. One is agenda item number 6, the MTP update. I was really pleased to see a lot of good projects in that plan, but a lot of really bad ones too. And I think that there's a possibility to be more aggressive to achieve great outcomes for our citizenry by looking at what we're trying to accomplish through the transportation plan and taking a more aggressive stance on what should be our long-term horizon by focusing on active transportation and not single occupancy vehicles as the main way to get around. The second comment I have is about agenda number 7. Most of these projects for the 6-way highway plan are widening projects and road building projects, and that's just really disappointing. And the fact that this body can boost 21 of these projects, 21 of them are not deserving of a boost. So wanted to, again, reiterate what I said last month, is that the performance management plan by which these projects are scored needs an overhaul to address sustainability and livability. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, public meeting report. Larry, please, Mr. Chang.
Ms. Tinius is out on maternity leave, and she will be back in September, so we are not having an extensive public involvement activity list to report. Wait till she comes back and we'll catch that up.
Okay, good. Thank you, Larry. Item number 5 is the quarter project review. Nick?
Yes, thank you. The item I'm presenting today for the quarterly project review is one we bring to you all every quarter. It's basically a synopsis of all of the projects that this body has approved for funding in the past. As some of you know, some of you may not know, KIPTA receives a portion of funds for which it has the ability, TPC has the ability to award directly to projects. Obviously, there are also state funds that KYTC has and NDOT has kind of purview over. So the projects we're talking about today in this presentation are all ones that have been approved by this body. And so in the past, we've set up a process to kind of make sure that all of these projects are staying on schedule. And I won't belabor you through all of the detail in the background because I know I harp on this every quarter, but each quarter, project sponsors are required to submit progress reports to show how well those projects are moving forward. And there are opportunities occasionally for cost increases and shifting phases when unforeseen things come up, projects are delayed and pushed back. There are rules that we have in place for those as well as exceptions to those rules. And then finally, there are occasions where this body we will transfer funds between programs, and that can be done through it was authorized by the FAST Act. So getting into Indiana and the status of the fiscal year 2020 projects, on this table here you can see the 4 dedicated funding programs for which you guys have the ability to award funds for or from. In the congestion mitigation air quality program, we programmed about $1.1 million, which is what we get in Indiana every year, thereabouts. Indiana has just started fiscal year 2020. They operate from a July to June fiscal year, so as you can see, there haven't been any obligations yet. Similarly, for the Highway Safety Improvement Program, so those funds are yet to be obligated, but all project sponsors have reported that they are on track. Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, we've got about $4.5 million, 2.1 of which is secured for NDOT's and the Heavy Haul Road project in Clark County. So that's the $2.1 million you see there that's obligated. And then we haven't had any obligations in the Transportation Alternatives Program for this quarter, but we anticipate that those will be on track and on schedule. Moving into the bigger piece here today, I got an item later on in this agenda talking about the fiscal year 2020 to 2025 Transportation Improvement Program. That's essentially our region's budgetary kind of document that shows which projects are moving forward, which projects have funds programmed, in which fiscal years. We're currently in the fiscal year 2018 to 2021 TIP, so we will be transitioning into a new TIP in the next 6-7 months. So this past quarter, we made the opportunity available to every project sponsor who has a existing dedicated project in our that's been selected by TPC previously, and they had an opportunity to explain the future costs and the needs that they have for phases that were unprogrammed, meaning no funds have been awarded to those future phases. So we received all of those costs, those estimates from all the project sponsors, and all the detail is included in the packet that I handed out, or that was in the by the door there. item 5C, Indiana project changes. There's, I would say, about 15 projects in here. Again, all of these are existing projects that we're asking this body to consider the request to award additional funds so that these projects can all be completed within the 2020 to 25 tip. So there's lots of different programs in here. We've got APCD's Kentuckiana Area Education Program, Riverside Drive in Clarksville, the bike and ped improvements that Clarksville and Jefferson are making in the 9th Avenue Montgomery corridor, as well as some complete streets projects that you can review in the packet. I hope you guys already have. But my action today related to these requests that we received is for this body to approve the newly programmed project phases and the modified project phases in Indiana.
You need a separate motion for the Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. You heard the man. We need a motion for the Indiana projects, for the changes, and also for the modified projects. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any questions? All in favor, aye? Opposed? That motion does carry.
Thank you all. All right, moving on to Kentucky. We're still in fiscal year 19. Kentucky's fiscal year ends September 30th of this year. In Kentucky, this body, the TPC, has approval to award funds in only two programs, that being the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program and the Transportation Alternatives Program. So looking at a little status here, snapshot of where we are in terms of how much funding was programmed at the beginning of the fiscal year, how much money has been obligated, and how much money has been shifted out to future years, meaning those projects have been delayed. In the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, we actually had a little over $14 million in obligations this year, or this quarter. So bringing us up to about 15.5. In the big picture, we're trying to make sure we obligate at least $19 million, which is what we bring in every year. That will help us avoid increasing the carryover balance that has accrued over the past few years. And so it looks like we're on track to do so. And then under the Transportation Alternatives Program, we actually had recent, I think $300,000 obligated for a bridge project in Jeffersontown. And so we are up to about $900,000 in obligations this fiscal year. If I can take any questions or comments you may have about the status of projects in Kentucky. We still have a couple more months to hit our goal of obligating $19 million, hopefully more than that. If not, I will move on to the Kentucky project changes. So again, in your packet, there's a handout, item 5D, that details all of the requests that have been made. Again, these are existing projects in our TIP that need additional funding in order to complete the future phases all the way through construction. Again, there's a pretty good mix of projects. The Olmsted Parkways, bike and ped improvements are all in there, as well as some in Oldham County. And then various, we've got the Ticket to Ride program, which is now called Every Commute Counts. So we've got a variety of different projects that you guys have previously awarded funds to, and this action today would ensure that these projects are fully funded through construction. And with that, we still have not touched any of the cost increase balance that we try to keep set aside for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program in Kentucky. So there's about $4 million available each year for those cost increases that may come up. So the action that I'm requesting today is to approve the newly programmed project phases in Kentucky.
We have a motion? We have a motion, have a second? Pardon? Second. All right, any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does carry.
Thank you.
That concludes item number 5. Item number 6. Connecting Kentuckiana Metropolitan Transportation Plan. I have Elizabeth and Sarah for that.
Yes, sir. Load it up real quick. So today, Elizabeth and I will be talking to you all about where we are in the project development phase of updating our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So first, we're going to start with kind of how we got to where we are today. We started
last year trying to come up with a way to develop a process that included the goals and objectives of Connecting Kentuckiana, as well as incorporating more performance-based planning into our process. We thought coming up with a process that could be more online-based would make it more transparent with you all as project sponsors and allow easier access, as well as letting the public be aware and having access to see kind of what we are up to as well. So that started last summer, right around this time. And then in October, we started offering a training for project sponsors for the process that we came up with. A lot of you all attended, where we were in this room with 2 or 3 screens that had the mapping application up with the actual application where you're drawing your project and answering questions and seeing where things lie and how they connect together. Shortly after that, we opened that application up for new and existing projects to be included in the new MTP. Shortly after a few months, we closed that application and we started to review and evaluate those projects. And then just a few months ago, after finishing the review and finishing all the evaluations, we had a draft list of all the projects. And I think there was 300 or so, remember, of new and existing projects to be included in our new MTP. In June, we offered anyone the chance to come in and sit down and talk about their projects and review the scores and the evaluation and kind of show you our process and see where there could be improvements or like what the idea was behind any particular projects. And a lot of you took that opportunity and had really good meetings where we just kind of talked about where things lie. So now, where we are in July, we have a final draft of projects in the performance ranks that we have here today, that we also showed you all at TTCC 2 weeks ago. And that kind of shows where projects lied against each other and how they did in our evaluation processes. So I want to go over our evaluation approach just so there's more context when looking at the draft list that Elizabeth is passing out. So the evaluations were made up of performance measures and targets, which some are verbatim listed on the evaluation sheet that we have. So as you can see, some of them correspond to the evaluation criteria on the right side of the screen, as well as goals and objectives of Connecting Kentuckiana. And mainly they're to promote connectivity, to promote non-motorized transportation, reduce crashes, and improve safety. So the way that the evaluations are done are based on a need and an impact. And the need is any number ranging from 0 to 5, which is the degree, or is the range of need in any particular area for any particular performance type. For example, I have non-motorized up here, and that it has a need score of 2. And so that could mean, or you may think a 2 means, oh, that's not good. But a 2 may also mean that in that area, the particular project already is in an area where it already meets the need of that area. So here for non-motorized, this particular project that this is taken from, there was a need of 2 for non-motorized transportation, which could indicate that there is already bicycle and sidewalk connections. And then the impact is the degree to which that particular criteria and that particular project has on the need in general. So we'll go to the third line down, where reduce gaps in existing pedestrian facilities. It has a need of 2 and an impact of 2, so that would mean that the project is directly impacting that. So probably a project that has sidewalks that's closing a pedestrian gap.
So the list that I passed out shows all the projects listed in alphabetical order, and then their corresponding performance rank. And as I was saying, with the impact and need scores, those are multiplied together to get the final score. And then the projects were ranked in proportion to the highest scoring projects. So the top 33% in relation to the high score of 293 were ranked high, and so on and so forth, from medium, low, and further review. So the highest ranking projects, just to give you an idea of what we saw across the ranks, were high-ranking projects had multimodal corridors. So they were touching on several topics in our performance measures. Roadway, non-motorized, maybe transit. Those were really in the high scoring. Those were what those projects were. We also saw that when projects had alternate nodes, particularly a standard roadway project, whether it was a reconstruction or adding a center turn lane, if that project also had bike and pedestrian considerations, it scored a lot higher than other roadway projects, which makes sense. And then finally, projects that touched or added facilities in clusters or focus areas also scored a lot more because that is where the highest need is. And we were trying to concentrate, scoring those projects better because that is where we identified the need in community access and employment clusters. That's really where we should maybe be spending our dollars first. So that's what we saw. And then we also wanted to give you an idea of where those projects were. So this map shows projects by type across the region, and it is well represented throughout the region, just to give you an idea. And then on your list again, this is the proposed list for us to continue to move forward. This encompasses all the projects that were submitted through the CK process for inclusion in the next MTP. So we didn't remove any projects based on rank. They're all in there. And I just want to reiterate that the ranks are a measure of how well the project impacts the performance measures. There are other factors like local need that we just don't capture in our process that may make the project really important for your area. So the ranks are not an end-all. We fully recognize that we just didn't capture everything. So they're supposed to be a planning tool to help this body make decisions about which projects might be considered for dedicated funds in the future. So with that, the ranks are not a gateway for funding. They're just a planning tool to help you all decide. And TTCC did recommend approval of this list with no changes from what you see in front of you. So if you all have any questions about our process or projects in particular. No?
Okay, you ready for motion? Then we need a motion to approve the project rating list evaluations as we see. Motion approved. I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion, second. Any comments? Are you more time to study the project, or are we ready for a vote? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Must have been ready for a vote. Motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, item number 7, fiscal year 2025 transportation improvement program. Next, you're up again, I think.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, so this is just kind of dovetailing from the Connecting Kentuckiana, the update that we are making to our long-range plan. In conjunction with that, as I mentioned before, we're also updating and moving forward into fiscal year 2025 with our transportation improvement program. This basically, it's a big process for a lot of the staff members at different implementing cities. There's some back and forth that we have to do in terms of clarifying project details and funding amounts and things of that nature. The background of this is basically that we are moving from a tip that covers 4 years to a tip that covers 6. That helps us plan a little bit better and be able to show those construction phases that may be further out in the future. In Kentucky, there's often a case where utility companies, before they agree to set a schedule, they want to know that construction has been awarded funds, or that the agency has been awarded funds for construction before they get that on a planning schedule. So hopefully that will help in that regard a little bit. Projects that are in the TIP, they basically, if you have federal funds and in many cases state funds, those projects have to be in our TIP, and likewise in the statewide transportation improvement program for both Indiana and Kentucky, respectively. TIP development is again aligned with 2040, so the schedules that Elizabeth and David and Sarah point out for y'all when it comes to connecting Kentucky and 2040, we're working in conjunction with them on the TIP side, because basically our program is a subset of the long-range plan. And then most importantly, project sponsors all received an email, I think first week of July, providing details on what KIPTA staff needs from each LPA or local project agency in order to update our TIP. So there's detailed instructions. I reiterated all of this at TTCC, where the majority of our projects sponsors often come to the meetings. But for those who weren't here, basically any project that was in the existing TIP and has a phase that is going from in between 2020 and 2025, those will be grandfathered in. And then additionally, sponsors can choose to introduce new projects into the Transportation Improvement Program. Of course, those projects will need to have secured or been awarded funds from some body, either TPC, KYTC, NDOT, or some other organization. Those funds have to be secured in order to go in the TIP. And then lastly, the email that was sent out includes a link to a Dropbox for each project sponsor, and that really gets into the meat of what we would like to see from everybody, and that is, I'll just briefly go through. There's instructions in there on how to access all the project information forms, how to modify those. The most important thing is making sure that open to public date, which is when the public will be able to use it, is accurate. And secondly, making sure that all the funding that's on page 2 of that PIF is accurate and up to date. Any projects that are open to the public already, all you have to do is click a quick button on page 1 that says project's complete. Just let us know, and that project will kind of be set as completed in our database, so it won't carry forward. For projects that don't have any changes to the PIF, it's really simple. Click the button that says above project has no changes, and you can move on, submit that, and work on the next one. I'm bringing this up because some LPAs and project sponsors like QITC have a lot of projects, so there will be some effort needed to go through those. All of these changes and updates need to be done by the end of August. We've provided about 8 weeks to get it all done. We're definitely willing to work with you guys if you guys have any issues or any problems accessing those links in the Dropbox file. So that is, in a nutshell, what we're asking folks to do for existing projects that are already in the TIP. Oops. For projects that you'd like to introduce into the TIP, there's, in that Dropbox link, there's a file that includes all of the projects that you guys submitted through Connecting Kentuckiana and the process that Elizabeth and Sarah just spoke about. The projects on that list are not in the current TIP, meaning they don't have any funds programmed as of yet. If you'd like to introduce those into the TIP, simply let myself or Amanda Deffridge know. We will send you that project information form to then make updates to and add funding in that second page so that we can add that project into the TIP. Just know that you need to have those funds secured and awarded by somebody. It can't just be a hope that, we submitted a grant application and we're hoping to get funds, so we'd like it in the TIP. Those funds have to be secured before they get into the TIP. So I think hit that hard enough. Again, all of those changes have to be done by August 30th, so we can stay on track and move forward with the process. And I can definitely answer any questions or comments if anyone has any in this room.
There's no action, but questions? Yes, sir.
Nick,
Yes.
we had a conference call real quick last week.
Right.
With no changes. Maybe I missed it. You need us to go into each one of the PIFs, even if there's no changes, and click that there's no changes and submit it that way. That's what you're looking for?
Yes, if you have PIFs, but Jeffersonville does not.
That was the issue.
Yeah, you guys don't have any current in the current TIP. But if you have projects in that other file that are in the long range plan and have secured funds, then those would be the ones you let us know, hey, project 245, we'd like to update that and get that in the TIP. Thank you. You bet. Anybody else?
Next thing.
All right, shut it.
Okay, item number 8 is the highway information former for tomorrow's shift. Larry.
Yes, sir.
yours.
If you're you remember,
You gonna sing with this one?
I don't know. That was a very good note to start on. You remember a couple of months ago, we had the opportunity to quote unquote sponsor projects in the Transportation Cabinet's strategic highway system that they're putting together to put their new 6-year plan together. We did this 2 years ago, and here we are, we're back. In your packet was an entire list of 85 projects. What I just handed out to you is the result of the work of our working group that the TPCC put together. What we had here, we were time constrained, first of all, so we had to, without bringing the whole process through this committee, back through the working group, and then back through this committee again, TTCC assembled a working group to make a proposal for you to consider. And these are the 21. We have the opportunity to boost, which means add 15 points to the Transportation Cabinet shift score to any project on that list. We had 21 out of the 80. Well, it turned out to be 81. We started out with 85, 4 are committed. So out of the 81 projects, we could choose 21 to add 15 points to. Prior to the working group meeting, we scored the project. Elizabeth and Sarah talked to you about how we did that. So our score was given to the working group. The cabinet shift score was given to the working group. And through this process, the Transportation Cabinet District Office also gets the opportunity to add boost points to a project. So we had what they intended to do, plus all the other information. And the working group, through that process, using that information, came up with the list that I just handed out to you. So we have 21 projects here, 14 of which were also boosted by the cabinet. So those are double boosted. Theoretically, that shift score that you see in that column, the green column, you can add 30 points to that on every one that was boosted by the cabinet and by the MPO. Again, there was a list of 85 projects that we started with. These were the top 21 choices of that working group, and it is now presented to you for your consideration. From this point, what we're going to do is they have a process where we go into the state's database and indicate that we have boosted these projects. The scores will be tallied up again, and it goes to the next stage of the process where they look at region-wide what the priorities are for the region and determine whether those projects that are the most important, both to us and to the Transportation Cabinet, can move forward in the next 6-year plan process. So, Tom, do you have anything you would like to add to that, or are you?
I think that sums it up.
Okay. We have to have this into their database by August 14th. Again, that's why we kind of short-circuited the process and brought it to you today rather than waiting until August. Yes, sir.
Just curious, just so I'm clear, each one of them that have a B there, have been boosted,
By the Transportation Cabinet.
and the boost is 30 points for each one?
15 for the cabinet and 15 for us.
Okay, and the green, the shift score, has those already factored into it?
No,
They
no,
do
that's
not.
the starting score.
That's starting scores, and they'll be added to it?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So say the first one down there is 43.7 will end up being 73.7.
And what's the minimum score for cutoff for consideration? You know,
That they don't have a minimum.
just a comment, and you all can. I think we've got this comment a couple times, and I'll go ahead and say it. But first of all, I have no problem with what the working group has proposed here. I think they did yeoman's work in going through this list of projects and pulling out the ones that I think meet the MTP the best. I will note the number of Bs that occur on interstate widening projects and lack of any consideration in the shift projects for transit, pedestrian, and bike projects. I think in an urban area, it's a crime. That's my opinion. I mean, certainly the East Market Street project is just as much of an economic development project as widening an interstate. So I think that's a shame. So I think that we can do better than that. But I think I don't have any problem with what the working group did. I'll just put my plug that the shift process, while I think it's better than what we had in the past, it's got a serious flaw in it.
Duly noted. Any other comments? This is action is required to accept this rating, I suppose, or this?
To accept these 21 projects as the projects that we are going to add the boost points to in their process.
Okay. Do I hear such a motion? No one wants to make a motion? May die without a motion.
Could possibly. Which means that we have no contribution whatsoever to their process. Is that?
Jerry.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, Representative.
I just want to say, would urge you all to approve this. I took my oldest granddaughter to Pope Lake Park to ride bikes yesterday. And we left Pope Lake Park at 5:30. And the safest way to get out of there is to go hit 148 and then come back. I pulled up my Waze and it told me, go English Station. And as I came to 148 and looked, there were cars backed up on South English Station as far as the eye could see. And it was all those people who used, like me, Waze and other apps to get them through traffic jams faster. And those were the Shelby County and Spencer County people trying desperately to get home without being backed up. And some of the projects that have been boosted will make an incredible impact on that, reduce that influence of these traffic applications that are moving traffic onto poor, unsafe secondary and old farm-to-market roads. And widening some of these roads to allow people to get to Spencer County or to get to Shelby County would make a tremendous difference in their lives. So, certainly thank the committee for their work.
I will start my comments off with the fact that I will make a motion to adopt this. But I don't see any improvements here or boosting anything out in the Bullitt County area except one location. And if everybody's been in Mount Washington and traveled out there in the afternoons and in the mornings, I don't see anything improving anything out there from KIPTA's standpoint. And I noticed that dates in here are 2030, 2026. And it's really, really bad out there. And I know everybody in here's got their own specific homes and areas that they worry about and try to improve. But we are being held back out there because we have probably close to 100,000 people in Bullitt County. And in Mount Washington alone has gone from 10,000 people to 20,000 people. And the next census is probably what you'll find. And we've got 2-lane roads out there that you spoke to. And all the traffic in this area in Louisville and the I-64, I-65 are being improved and widened into Cow Pass, into Mount Washington. 2-lane highway on Highway 44. You can't get up and down that road. Now, it used to be really, really bad in the afternoons and mornings, but now it's bad all the time. It's horrible. And I'm speaking out there as a long-time citizen of Mount Washington and in city council for years. And I've been complaining and fussing and hollering about Bullitt County and the traffic out there for years. And there's still nothing going on out there. Bullitt East High School you can't get to in the mornings and afternoons. You have to practically take off for 2 days to get your kids to school and get back to work. Enough. I still stand on my motion. I'll make it.
Well, first of all, you're not a voting member of TPC, so you can't make a motion.
I thought I was.
Not of the policy committee.
Okay, then I apologize. Maybe you should
That's okay.
forget everything
But-
I said.
But, no, but to your point, Mayor, there are projects in Bullitt County that aren't reflected in this process that are currently in the 6-year highway plan that are considered committed projects. There are a few.
2020.
That is not reflected in this process. What happened is there was a huge list of projects that 135 or something like that.
Yeah.
That were sponsored. That first of all, there were committed projects that were taken off the list. There were statewide significant projects that were taken off the list, like I-65, interstate interchanges, things like that, that were considered in a different way. This is a group of projects that were considered regional and of regional significance to us. So we had the opportunity to look at these and to boost these projects.
Okay.
So there are projects in Bullitt County that are already in the mill, first of all. There are projects in Bullitt County that are in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, what we approved a little bit earlier. But you are correct. In this list of 21, there's only that one Bullitt County project. And it made the list because it's already started, it's underway, and we need to finish it. Part of this process also is trying to get to the projects that are the most critical at this point, that have money invested already or have promises been made to the community. Those projects need to be taken off the top, and they need to be completed. And that's why that 245 project is on there.
I don't see Bernheim every day down in that area and the widening that's going on down there. I'm 15 miles away from that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you that there's a lot more traffic congestion in the city limits of Mount Washington than it is around Bernheim.
Oh, there's no question.
And I just get frustrated. And I'm taking time here that I should probably even be talking. And I apologize for making a motion.
No, that's fine.
You know, I think the thing I'm saying, we do need, or we should have a process, a list of the shift. So we should have a motion and do so. But if you're not happy with the process, then we need to do something about it. Or when this working group is together, there should have been a whole bunch of people wanting to be on the working group, and I don't think that happened.
We did have a good turnout for the working group.
Right. But I guess if it's something you want to fight for, that's the time to get in here and fight for that project, not, you know. Do I have a motion?
You did.
Okay, if I have no motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. What about a second? Going once?
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion second.
Again, I know I'm annoyed I'll say this before we take a vote, Mayor Chapman, if I may, one more time. I think that, you know, as Mayor said here, I think that, again, we're, as a region, we're scrambling. Again, all these projects on this list are the cow paths, as he described them, and I think that really some of the improvements, and I think Representative Taylor spoke to this too, that some of these improvements on these secondary roads that are 18 feet wide, the intersections, the sight lines aren't very good. I mean, those are priority in the urban area. We've got, if we have interstates that are 8 lanes wide or 6 lanes wide or whatever they are, I mean, that's great. And the exits all lead to the same congested points when we get off those interstates. And I see far too many of I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you all, but I see far too many of the KYTC boosts on the interstates and not enough on these streets that are, I know they're state highways, but they're still our surface streets that we use to get around. And I think it's a real challenge. We have safety challenges, and we're funneling. It's no good if we have Interstate 65 with 6 or 8 lanes. You get off on 44 and you got 2 lanes and you're fighting through all that. Nobody's got a way to get around. So that speaks to, you know, that speaks to the other piece that I mentioned earlier. We have a flawed system again if we're applying 1950s solutions to 21st century problems and getting people around our community.
I'll shut up now.
Any other comments?
I think we should just note that this is a data-driven process, and this is based on data and AET, and it was all factored in. That's where the numbers are coming from.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does carry. Thank you. Item number 9, fiscal year 2018 and 2021. Amanda.
Yes, hi.
Welcome.
I'm here to present Administrative Modification 33 to our TIP. These are just minor project changes we're making to our current TIP. We do not need any approval of these today. These are just presented for your information. We have 13 project changes. 7 are in Kentucky, 6 are in Indiana. We have 1 new project. It's KYTC's Bullitt County Welcome Center repairs. And the rest of the changes are all derived from the quarterly project review that Nick presented earlier in agenda item number 5. You guys all approved the award of all of those funds, and so now we are officially adding those funds to our TIP. If they are in our current TIP between fiscal year 18 and 21, anything that was awarded that is after fiscal year 21 will be included in our new TIP next year. Are there any questions about any of the projects?
There's no action, but they are open for comments.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Item number 10, any other business come before this board? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? I got a motion second. All in favor, aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Couldn't agree with you.